Hey everybody, this is Stuart with Wine on the Dime. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 2021 Fogline Vineyards Rosé of Syrah. It's 13.9% alcohol by volume. It's from the Petaluma Gap, and they are the guests for this week's Pink Society chat on Twitter/X. So join us at 8 p.m. Central, use the hashtag Pink Society, and you're instantly part of the club. At least in terms of reading it. If you want to respond, make sure you include the hashtag Pink Society, and then you're doubly part of the chat, which is twice as cool. And everyone knows when you're twice as cool, it's really being it's 2 to the power second. It's hip to be cubed. I totally lost a tangent on that. On that note, let's get to this wine. From a color standpoint, I'm going to give you a pink orange, no artifacts, no cloudiness. Yeah, it's just has this really kind of weird orange and pink note that just it's just enough of each to where it makes it difficult to understand where it falls. So that's why I'm saying pink, orange, pink. And I'm saying that it's medium because that is a reasonable amount of color depth, as you can see, because I have a black shirt and you can still see the color against my shirt, which I just realized that as I looked through my monitor. Today's just a really off day. I've had a hard day at work, so just bear with me. We'll get through the wine review. We'll get it ready for you for tonight's Pink Society chat. Anyway, so let's take a look at the nose. So the first thing I'm getting is a little bit of red fruits and a little bit of melon. So I'm getting a just red cherry, a raspberry. There's a little bit of watermelon. There's a little bit of an orange blossom. There's also a nectarine, and that's pretty much it. Let's see how it tastes. High acid. Not only is the acid high, but the fruit itself is like a tart fruit. Literally sucked all the moisture out of my mouth. I need to go get a sip of water. I'll be right back. Alright, so even though it is really high acid wine, it doesn't count against you necessarily because I also really like high acid wines. So we need to evaluate this as a kind of holistic type of tasting. It was just very interesting that the first sip I had, and then especially when it went to the mid palate, it kicked you right in the mouth with that acid and those tart fruit notes. And so it was just actually caught me off guard. That's why I had to go kind of rinse out a little bit. But now that I've done that, let's continue to take a few sips and let's see the rest of the structure. All right, so it's a medium body wine with medium intensity. As I mentioned, it has high acid. It actually tastes low alcohol, even though it's 13.9. It doesn't really have any sort of notification of alcohol on the palate or on the nose. And the finish is medium as well. But before we get to how it rates using the Blick, I'm going to take another sip and then I'm just going to do a video cut and get straight to that part. Cheers. All right, so from a balance standpoint, I'm going to give you a full point. But here's the deal. I'm giving you a full point after a couple sips. If I give you an initial rating based upon the first sip of the wine, then you're not in balance. That acid is screaming high, it's very tart, but as you take a few sips and you kind of get used to it, then everything really is in balance. I'm kind of thinking of this wine like whenever I do like wine judging competitions and stuff like that. You normally don't have one sip of wine. You normally have enough to do a few kind of palate exposures, and you can kind of get over an initial shock of high acid and kind of move things around. You can really do a good evaluation of it. That's how I'm kind of interpreting this wine. Like I said, if it was just on the initial approach into the mid palate, you'd be out of balance. I'd probably give you maybe half a point at most. After you've had a chance to get your palate accustomed to this wine and the amount of acid and everything, you realize that the structure and the residual sugar or the lack thereof, and just everything really plays well together. And in the end, it actually is balanced. You just have to get past that first zing that hits you on the palate. That's a really long way of saying full point. From a length standpoint, medium finish, half a point. Intensity, both medium on the nose and palate, so half a point. And in terms of complexity, I'm going to give you half a point. I'm not really getting any secondary characteristics or really any mallow influences that are really hitting my palate. A lot of it is really that kind of fruit forwardness. There are a reasonable range of primary clusters, though not totally expansive. But overall, it's better than a kind of one note wine, which I've had some rosés that have been that way, and to be quite honest, they're not my favorite. So, like I said, half a point. So in the end, this is kind of one of those wines where I can rate it two ways depending on what kind of rosés you like. So if you are someone who likes kind of really complex rosés with a lot of primary, a lot of secondary, some mallow, and like things like, that's not going to be up your alley. You're going to taste this and say it's good. It's just not up your alley. If you're someone who likes rosés that are a little bit more fruit forward, less secondary, less kind of like winemaker influences, more strictly on the grape itself, you also are someone who likes high acid wines, then this will be a very good for you. So it really just depends on what kind of wine you like. As for me, I like wine. And I wouldn't have done over 970 videos on wine if I didn't. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Anyway, this is Mr. Stuart with Wine on the Dime. If you like today's video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Have you had the Fogline Vineyards Rosé of Syrah? I'd be interested to know if you have. Leave a comment below, and I'll see y'all again for tonight's Pink Society chat on Twitter, 8 p.m. Central, hashtag Pink Society, and I'll see you all there. In the meantime, I'm going to have, well, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to have a little bit more. Sounds about right. That's what I need to get through editing this video, and I'll see you later.